welcome back to another episode of Real Talk with Dr. White. And we are super excited about our next guest, Miss Mallory Johnson. Miss Johnson, thank you so much for being here today with us.
Oh, you are so welcome, Dr. White. Thank you.
Miss Johnson, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I teach fifth grade gifted math and science. I am a woman of faith and I absolutely love what I do. I have a son and a husband who are my entire world. And this will be, I believe, my 6th year teaching as a full-time teacher. So I'm extremely excited.
Let's talk about, I was telling some of our other guests, so many times you can search YouTube and you will see hundreds of videos about why I quit teaching and just the negative about education. So we are trying to spread the positive and share why you continue to teach. So tell us what led you into the teaching profession and why you keep doing what you're doing.
Sure. I got my bachelor's in business administration and I got out into corporate America and said, this is not really for me. I'd been working at a private school in the area while I was finishing up my bachelor's degree, and that really stole my heart. And I guess once I got out into the world and I saw corporate America, that's when I decided to make the change. As soon as I got there, I left. And I went back and I started getting my master's degree and continued working at the private school I was at. And I immediately fell in love with teaching from where I was.
Did you work in a private school? Were you subbing or?
I was doing substituting and I was doing aftercare. So it was definitely a transition into the world that I'm in now, but I absolutely fell in love. Growing up, I never had any nieces or nephews or siblings to have child experiences with. And so that was really my first time with children. And I absolutely loved it. I started nannying in the summer. Anytime that I could be around children was the time that I was happiest. And that was something that was new to me. And to this day, I'm just thriving. I absolutely love what I do. And so I'm really, really thankful that God gave me that opportunity and experience.
Yes. Well, we love to hear the word thriving. Tell us, Ms. Johnson, what's one tip or several tips that you would share? You said you've been teaching 6 years. Tell us what keeps you going, or what are some tips that new teachers should be thinking about right now as they enter into this new school year?
Absolutely. I think that finding your tribe, as some would say, is key. I think that seeking out those who uplift instead of undo or unload onto you, I think is very important. And to find people who avoid negative talk and that you can be yourself around will keep you out of the feeling of being burnt out. If the only time I get in my day is support and a 30-minute lunch, I really would not suggest getting into the habit of being around those who are going to have negative talk around you. Just finding a group of those people that you work with, or maybe that just work in the same sector as you and who are also a teacher who really enjoy what they do and feel uplifting to you, would be the best advice that I could give, is just to make sure that you are having positive people around you.
Yes, that makes a difference, because whatever you're hearing and listening to, eventually that's going to get down into your spirit and it will change your thoughts, good, bad, or indifferent. So I really appreciate hearing that. It's just so important to surround yourself with like-minded people. And of course, we all have our ups and downs, but if you're down and then you're walking into a room full of people that are all down, that's not a benefit to you. What do you love most about teaching?
There are so many things. I really enjoy, even when I've had a hard day, I think about the long-term impact. Of course, I haven't been able to see the fruits of my labor yet. Many teachers that I work with, they are very seasoned. My partner teacher is very seasoned, and they get to have those conversations of, I taught your mom, I taught your niece or whoever, cousin, and those can be rewarding experiences. I'm just getting into siblings, which is always awesome. I taught your older sibling, but I think something that I'm constantly having to think about on a bad day, and that I love to think about on a great day, is the impact I'm going to have when somebody is a parent or a grandparent and they're having a conversation with their kids. I love to think about, am I making an impact in their love for school, in their love for mathematics, in their love for science? Can I, even though I'm having a bad day today, maybe they're having a bad day with me and they're having an attitude. Just taking a breath and saying, it's all going to work out. I'm here to facilitate their love for learning. If a child does not have a love for learning, they're not going to continue wanting a long-term education. They don't want to stay in school. They want to get out as quickly as possible, whether that's high school or the earliest degree they can. And so something that keeps me in positive spirits is thinking of the impact long-term that I'm going to make. I just know that I'm in a career where I can really feel fulfilled through that. And if I just stay focused on the long term, that is really what's going to keep me the most uplifted. And then just every day being a part of a community of teachers that surround me that are a family. We're all a family in our grade, and it's not easy. We've made ourselves a family, and you have to work for that. And so I think that in the short term is something that really benefits me as well.
Well, let's talk about that those two words you hear a lot about, classroom management. And I know this is your sixth year, so you're probably in a groove now. Tell us about, what would you share to teachers? What is classroom management? How does that look for you?
So for myself, classroom management has changed dramatically from my first year teaching. And even when I was just subbing, where you can't really have classroom management when you're doing that because you're flipping everywhere. But when you're there, you try to set boundaries. But I feel that classroom management really starts with the procedures that you have in place. And for me, creating the connection at home. First week of school, I'm setting the expectations, setting the procedures. We are practicing, we are working at it. I'm giving grace. We're getting that time to get to know each other and getting to know new expectations. It's a new teacher, and whether or not they've been in the building this whole time, just setting those. And then the management pattern becomes a thing of its own. Also communicating with the parents. Something that over time I've learned to do is, as soon as I meet a child and they've been in the classroom maybe a few days, I try to call at least 5 different parents per night the first week of school, and giving the parents a positive anecdote. This is not a time where I say anything negative. This is just a time where I share about something maybe funny that happened. The first day of school, she told me XYZ, or just giving them an anecdote that would make a parent feel that we have made a connection and that it's going to be a positive school year. That way that the parents have my back at home. And that can also help with the classroom management in class. Then also, classroom management really does rely a lot on the help of my partner teacher. We have fluidity in our relationship, and we do practically everything the same now. And I know that not everybody is so lucky. It's taken us work to get here. We've been partner teachers. I think this might be our 4th year being partner teachers. It could be our 3rd. But over time, we have created the exact same rules. Our sharpener is in the same place. Our absent folder works the same way. We communicate on one singular newsletter. So all these things are streamlined into what our classroom management looks like, so that the students know that I have a relationship with the parents, that I have a relationship with them, and I have expectations for them individually, and that our partner teacher who teaches them ELA, we are making sure that we are all on one team and that we are all trying to benefit the one student. And once the student learns that and knows that, the management takes care of itself. And of course, we have, little things that happen when you teach 5th grade. But for the most part, that is the best way that you can, for me, speaking for me, that I have been able to, I guess, not perfect, because it can always get better, but it's the best that it's been, being the way that I'm doing it now.
I've heard so many things that you've shared that are just going to be helpful to so many, but the connection piece with parents early on, we can't stress that enough, because, sometimes kids are going to be kids. That's the one thing that we can, we know that for a fact. And so you do want that first phone call to be one that is positive, so the parents don't think that you're picking on their child, or that, oh, what type of year is this going to be? But I love that you said to not overwhelm yourself. 5 students every night, and that is definitely doable those first few weeks of school. I call it kind of putting deposits in a bank early on, because you will need your parents' support later on. And then I think that's amazing that you have the consistency and, I guess, the camaraderie with your partner teacher, that you guys are able to do have the same classroom rules and routines, and that helps students, because they know, okay, what's good in Ms. Johnson's room, it's the same in where I'm going next. So thank you for sharing that. What would you say has been one of your biggest professional challenges, and how did you work through that?
I think I am a very type B person. I feel like I may appear like type A now that I have kind of crafted myself into a routine of organization. And especially, again, having that partner teacher who, she sends out the newsletter, I fill it in, and it's like clockwork. We just kind of have our days where she makes copies, I make copies. We've gotten into a routine. But something that I've definitely struggled with up until this point was keeping myself organized and not letting grades pile up. It was boiling over into my home life. I was taking home papers. I was trying to grade in bed. I had an infant at the time. I was pregnant at one time, right when I was first teaching. It was very, very difficult. And something I would stress to anyone is to find a routine where you hold yourself accountable of, this is the day I grade. This is the day I get the folders ready to send home. This is the day that I do XYZ during planning. This is the day that I copy, and making sure that you have everything set aside. And that can be really difficult, especially if you're going to be absent. Just making sure that, to the best of your ability, something that I would stress, something that worked for me, is just making sure that I was on top of my organization. As somebody who is type B and is very all over the place, I can never find my phone. I can never find my keys. I can never find my head if it weren't attached to my body. I think that's something that's very important. Is I can't keep up with a planner. I always buy one and I never keep up with it. I'll lose it. But just getting in the routine will completely help, especially for me, just making sure that I can get everything done. And then the rest is confetti, and it works out.
Yes, I liked hearing that you said, well, I heard so much of me in you when you said you were grading papers in bed with an infant, and you have a husband, you have a young child, and now your life is completely different just by getting organized. And I do think having that set schedule and sticking to it, your plan of what day you're going to grade and do whatever you may need to do, it just works. So thank you for sharing that. So all teachers, everybody can benefit from this. I do remember bringing the bags full of papers home, and they would sit, and I'm up all night, and that caused stress. And my husband's looking at me like, okay. Thank you for sharing that. What's something you're excited about this school year, professionally, personally?
Sure. I think something that I'm really excited about is this is the first year where I haven't wanted to change anything. I have my same bulletin boards that I've gotten used to. I have my same routines. I have my same everything, the same setup in my classroom. Everything that I did last year, I really enjoyed. I think last year was a year where I really felt the strongest that I've been. I now just want to work on different little finite details of my day-to-day practices when it comes to how can I better work out small group and streamline. But other than that, I am just really excited to get the school year going because I already feel so confident in what I'm doing logistically this year. I feel like this is the first year where I don't feel overwhelmed going back in of what am I going to clean? How am I going to do the bookshelves? This is the first year where I truly feel I loved what I did last year. It worked out. Everything was blissful. I want to do it again. So I'm very, very excited for that. And I'm also just excited to see my team, to see my grade, to see everyone. We've all kind of created our relationships by now. Those of us who are showing up for another year, I'm so excited, and I just love the team that I work with. So I can't be more joyful.
I loved hearing that your room, it's going to be the exact same. You are pleased. So you mean to tell me all of the Pinterest and the TikTok classrooms aren't tempting? How do you not fall into that trap?
I did. First year I was teaching, I will never forget it. I made a bulletin board, the paper. I made a tree in the corner of my classroom and had this elaborate forest reading area, and it took me hours, it took me weeks, and it was very, very stressful because I had to worry about the walls and taking things down. So I've fallen for it. I've seen a lot of the things, and there were things that I have fallen for. I've fallen for the toolbox. I love the toolbox. If you've ever seen that one, I still use it. But I think that a lot of us can fall trap to classroom manicures versus classroom management.
I like that.
And it's easy. Manicures are cute, they're fun, but something that I'm not thinking about when I'm getting my nails done really long with rhinestones on it is how it's going to benefit, how it's going to adapt and work. And so I think that something that can be easy for people to fall into a trap of is to worry a little bit too much about aesthetics, which is great, you know, but I think now I have my navy, I have my little pops of yellow, and I have something that's a calming environment that's conducive to learning. And it's still cute. I still, you know, add little touches of me here and there, but it's just an environment that I think that my students really thrive in, that doesn't distract them. Think about 3 years ago, I had one that was kind of hippie and roller skates. And that was the last year I said, I can't do this every year. I've got to have something that's streamlined. So I'm really excited. But yeah, some of the TikTok stuff is really cute. I would just, if I were a first year teacher, I think that the manicures would be something that I did not spend a lot of my time on.
Yes, thank you for sharing that, because I know sometimes we can get into that trap. I also did the same thing. TikTok wasn't around when I first started teaching, but I would spend so much money and time and energy trying to make my room so beautiful. And like you said, it's a distraction, honestly, to some children. I mean, it's beautiful, it's fun to walk into, but you do have to think about a more calming environment, which can still be amazing and cute, but you may not need as much stuff or your big tree in the corner as you shared. The fire marshal, I think I always ended up with a slip of paper in my room because I had all of that stuff in my room. So thank you for sharing that. Where do you go for inspiration or support? I've heard you talk a lot about your faith and your partner teachers. So where do you draw from?
Those two were the ones that I would have said.
Okay.
I also think TED Talks will never steer me wrong. There are a lot of teacher comedians, but some of them may lean a little bit more negative in their jokes. I
Right.
just try to lean on my faith, my family. I tried to draw inspiration from TED Talks, anything positive. I had to tell my parents because they were sending me videos. I had to tell them before I opened it, is this positive? Because if it's not positive and it's about teachers, please don't send it to me before the school year starts. And so my dad has started saying, it's positive. If you want to watch it,
Right.
it's great. But he knows that he's only going to send me positive stuff. So I love to see the positive Instagram posts. I can go to those for inspiration. I have Pinterest boards. But really, all of it boils down to my faith. If I'm ever feeling in some sort of bind or in some sort of funky mood, I know that I've fasted enough, and now it's time to eat. So I go to the Lord, and that's what draws me back. So
Oh, I love that. Love that. What final message of encouragement would you like to leave for teachers listening?
I would say a piece of advice is to know that you're never going to have it all together, and nobody's expecting you to. Sometimes it can feel like, oh, admin expects this, or my coach expects this, or my team expects this. Just being truthful to yourself, being truthful to others, they're going to appreciate that so much more than you having everything on top of you. I know that we wear a lot of hats as educators,
Yeah.
and I think it's very important for sometimes to just say, my head's big, but it's not that big. I cannot wear any more hats. And I think that just saying no is something that it can be hard. Teachers naturally, I feel like we want to be people pleasers. We want to make the world better. We almost have that Superman mentality, but sometimes we really do need to set a boundary, and boundaries are not mean. There's a difference between being nice and being kind. And I think that, making sure that you don't expect yourself to have to say yes all the time. You can say no, you can set a boundary, and you can deal with it kindly, and that's okay. And people will respect you for it. No. And if people are mad, then those are not the positive, uplifting people that, you need to worry about anyway.
Absolutely. I always tell people other people's feelings, that's their business, not mine. So they'll come around. I know I've been fair to them, so it's okay. But boundaries are a must in the field of education. I often tell people in my role, something happens to you, you burn out, you crash out, fall out in the classroom. God forbid anything happens to you, they're going to have your job posted next week. That is the harsh reality. So I can't stress enough the importance of having boundaries and understanding that it is okay to say no sometimes. And remember, you can cut off and that work will be waiting on you tomorrow. So, okay.
Yes. Yes,
Well,
it is.
I want to thank you again for being here today. And viewers, please, 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 if you would like to be a blessing to Miss Johnson, we have her Amazon wish list, her teacher list posted in the comments. And we would love for you to shop from there. Again, she has a wish list, and we would love for you to clear that list out for her. And again, thank you. If you would like to be a guest to talk about the positive things of education and what keeps you here, please feel free to email me at info@korriewhite.com. And Ms. Johnson, thank you again for being on the show. And I'm sure I will ask you to come back. It has been a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Dr. White. I really appreciate it.